Hi, everyone, and good morning. I am grateful to be your keynote speaker today. My name is Rich Roehrick from Heartland Business Systems. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that is more and more relevant to all of our communities, life safety. A heavy topic, but vital. When seconds count. The title of today's webinar sets the stage of our discussion today. Our sponsors today are Avigilon Alta, Singlewire Software, ZeroEyes, Access Communications, Verkada, and 911 Inform. The sponsors listed are key players in our life safety ecosystem strategy, showcasing a collaborative approach to addressing the gap in time when an incident occurs and when first responders neutralize a threat. As we move forward in today's webinar, keep in mind the importance of these partnerships and the ecosystem of technologies that are shaping effective, time-critical life safety strategies. To make sure we're covering this thoroughly, we have some very insightful resources lined up for you. I will talk about my time in the United States Marine Corps and how my time as an operator allowed me to take a different look at how we implement strategies in the workplace. We have data from gunviolencearchives.org, focusing in on the statistics around active shooter events and the average time it takes to respond of an incident of this kind. We will dig into key frameworks from the Department of Homeland Security. And to round things up, we'll be offering not one, but 2 breakout sessions for you to choose from. During the first breakout session, we'll focus in on critical infrastructure like video surveillance, door access control, alarms, guest management, and more. Then we'll roll into our second breakout session where we will focus in on situational awareness. During this breakout session, we'll look into technologies that are leading in areas of prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery. And just a quick highlight to everybody, this webinar will be recorded for your convenience. So let's first talk about my time in the United States Marine Corps and how it relates to this mission today. I joined the United States Marine Corps in 2009. Feels like a long time ago. I went to boot camp in MCRD San Diego, West Coast Marine. This is where we were transformed into Marines, learning basic combat skills, knowledge, core values, and most importantly, discipline. From there, we shipped to infantry training. This is where we learned advanced weapon systems, methods of entry and insertion, casualty care, embarking aboard and fighting from helicopters, AAVs or amphibious vehicles, they call themselves Yat-Yas, and tactical vehicles. I served overseas in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Africa, and more. When I was overseas, there were many days I did not think I was going to make it back home. I came to terms with that situation, and we took casualties. Some of you may know this. One of those casualties that will haunt me forever was my best friend, Joey Woodkey. He stepped on an improvised explosive device in March of 2010 in Upper Gurresh Valley, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Double amputee above the knee. What kept me alive and disciplined was the guy or gal to my left and to my right. There was no room for complacency. We had each other's six. As you can imagine, our fellow teammates were family, from the cities of New York to the country fields of Kentucky. We knew each other's families by name, and most importantly, we knew when something was off with one another. Our op tempo was insane. We trained, and we trained. Holidays, long nights, months of workups, and more. We broke training and operations into 2 key areas: left of bang, prevention and protection, and right of bang, mitigation, response, and recovery. Please note, this is important. Left of bang, know your people and your buildings. Your number one asset is your people. However, your number one asset could also be your biggest vulnerability. Know your team and build a culture of safety. The question we need to ask each other as leaders in our organization are the following. What areas can we improve upon before an incident occurs? Do I know your job? Do you know my job? Did we practice the situation with local authorities? Do we have the right tools to mitigate mass casualties in case something does happen, like first aid and tourniquets? Do we have proper lockdown protocols? Do we have interoperable systems? Do the local authorities have access to our systems? Do we have proper messaging or announcements? And most times missed, have we practiced reunification? Now let's talk about right of bang. This is what we do after the breach or after the first bang. I knew my job when we breached a door or needed to engage a target. I knew if I was going left or right. I knew what my team was doing. I knew my 9 line in case something bad may happen. I knew how to call in for fire support. I knew my extraction plans. From your lens and from your mission, who locks down the doors? Who makes the announcement? Who calls 911? What is the job of our security team and how do we communicate? Who will be talking to the media? And did we practice reunification? As you know, our nervous system is broken down into sympathetic and parasympathetic pathways. Sympathetic, fight or flight. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. Let's just take a second and put yourselves in a kinetic environment like an active shooter event. God forbid. Did you just hear that gunshot? I think so. You call 911. You do an all page. Does anybody know where that shooter is? Who is the shooter? Can you lock down these doors? Can you imagine making a page during a situation like this? Can you imagine trying to manually lock down a wing of the building during a situation like this? How do you think that message will come across to others in the building during a panic situation? Just like in war, in combat, our body's nervous system will be on full alert. Some people will freeze and some will take action. We need to focus on making the process easy. We need to practice the basics because during intense, stressful situations, even the basics can be missed. As we call it in the Corps, muscle memory. Now let's take the lens of our first responders. Was this an active shooter notification that just came across? Where's the shooter in the building? How many shooters are there? Is there more than one? What does the shooter look like? How many people are injured? Just get in the building, stack on me. What kind of weapon systems does the assailant have? Let's jump into a quick story about the importance of preparedness and proactive measures. During my first deployment to Afghanistan, I was a Lance Corporal, or E3, just a young buck. I reported to our staff sergeant, our second lieutenant in our platoon. We were monitoring movement of a known Taliban fighter operating out of a compound about 100 meters from our location. Our mission was to neutralize the threat once we had positive ID of the known fighter. During one of our daily foot patrols, we started to hear enemy communication via a radio system. They were setting up for an ambush. I made the executive decision to execute. I did not wait on my lieutenant or my staff sergeant to make the call. I made the call. Everyone took my lead. Everyone trusted my judgment. My job was the breach, setting the explosives and then clearing the compound. My team knew exactly what to do after the bang. I knew their job and they knew mine. We communicated effectively, and we had proper communication with command in case we needed medical evacuation, fire support, or air support. The mission was a success because we trained, where we were equipped for success, and I was empowered to make the call. So how does this relate to you and your mission and your environment? Prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery should be part of every safety training protocol in your business. Know your team, and coordinating with local authorities is one of the most important steps you can take. Practice and train at least biannually. We need to have great communication with our departments and teams. We need to monitor for suspicious behavior or non-authorized personnel. It's critical for our teams to feel empowered to act upon our SOPs, standard operating procedures, when someone feels that there's a vulnerability within our walls. Train and harden your environment where you can. And like I mentioned before, most importantly, build a culture of safety. Can anyone tell me what these red dots stand for? The map provides a stark overview of mass shootings in 2024. Using data from gunviolencearchives.org, these tragic events emphasize the urgency of our discussions today. By understanding these incidents, we can better strategize on prevention and response measures, making this data a critical component of our conversation today. Now let's take a look at this table. Upper ribbon shows 6 real-life active shooter events. Some of you probably recognize those. Left ribbon shows the time of the threat and when our responders could neutralize the threat. Take a quick look. Red ribbon, blue ribbon. Look at the advanced task time against the effective response times. We call this the gap. By identifying your processes and your gaps, we can work towards strategies that enhance coordination and improve overall response effectiveness, ultimately saving lives during emergencies. Back to the title of our slide, when seconds count. So you may ask, how do we close the gap, Rich? First, let's take a look at some common investment strategies I see in the businesses I work with. Many of us have invested in door access control, video surveillance, phones, strobes, paging, mass notification software. The problem lands on the interoperability or the integration of those systems. Typically, when I'm consulting with firms or campuses, I see disparate investments. Some examples could be, we needed a new paging solution, so we bought a paging unit. I needed door access control, and we had a community member that was going to donate some time. I encourage us to take a deeper look into these common investments and consider how these investments could be tailored to meet closing the gap in our life safety goals. At Heartland Business Systems, or HBS, we follow the Department of Homeland Security's National Recovery Framework, emphasizing the importance of a structured approach to handling threats in each phase: prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery. As you guys can see, left of bang, prevention. Identify possibilities and vulnerabilities before they take place. Talked about the culture of safety. Protection. This is where we're going to focus in on strategies to control access, monitor assets and public behavior, as well as use data to raise awareness and mitigate issues before they occur. Right of bang, mitigation. Identify what's taking place and direct people, resources, and processes with the goal of reducing risk and lessening the impact of the event on both people and your property. Mitigation strategies support dynamic processes such as real-time action plans for run, hide, fight, rendezvous points, and more. Response. Enable collaboration and communication within and across groups engaged in your company, school, or campus. Staff, first responders, medical personnel, and the public. Effective response can save lives, protect property, and ensure that basic human needs are being met. And then lastly, sometimes overlooked, strategies and process to disseminate information to those involved and account for all staff assets. The goal is to help those affected recover. So before an event, prevention and protection. This is where you may look at a third-party audit. We dig into policies and procedures, visitor management, people and roles, training, the architecture of your building, proper mapping with marked entrances like numbers and letters, tactical floor plans, zone emergency response systems, communication, MOUs with emergency responders for threat information sharing and building access, two-way radio systems that can communicate with the authorities in our fortified walls, mass notification systems with built-in emergency communication methods, proper signage and lighting, landscaping to control vehicle access, video surveillance with proper coverage and positive ID at entrances and parking lots, door access control with monitoring and control of building access. And then we go into mitigation, response, and recovery. This is where your training comes in. We must have the right tools around our facilities to initiate a lockdown situation. Let's say it again, make it easy, muscle memory, on their phones, on their computers, mobile panic buttons, and physical panic buttons. We must have mass casualty supplies like trauma kits, tourniquets, AEDs, and more. We should try to invest in technologies that can trigger the alarm when a gun is branded, violent behavior is initiated, or someone that should not be in our property enters our perimeter. We need to lean on our mass notification system and paging equipment to communicate a calm and collected message for our people versus our front desk representative making the call in a panic state. Invest in smart devices like digital signage that can integrate with your mass notification system. Integrate that mass notification with your local dispatch team if MOU is in place. And most importantly, practice reunification. How long does it take you to account for your people and your assets? Post-event communication with media, parents, and families. So important. Something for you guys to think about. The slide represents a detailed floor plan that I see far too often in our schools, businesses, and campuses. Can anyone tell me what the vulnerabilities could be just from this map alone? Imagine if you're the tactical team responding to an incident. If I'm new to the area, do I know where north is? Do you know where people are in the building? What door should I enter? What if? What if we could take your floor plan and make it into a tactical grid with advanced technology overlays? Now imagine if you were the SWAT commander responding to an incident. North is represented on the map. The floor plan is then put into a tactical grid representing A through O and 1 through 20. If I'm communicating with my tactical team on the ground, I could say, enter entrance 8 on grid line K10. Furthermore, my tactical team can see where movement is happening in the building based on advanced analytics that we shared in our training plans. I can click into cameras, I can lock down wings, and more. What if a lockdown was initiated before anyone noticed a gun in the building? What if anyone could trigger a lockdown from anywhere? Smartphones, badges, computers, desk phones, or physical panic buttons? What if your panic button could trigger communication internally via your phones and or paging system and externally alert first responders simultaneously? What if your visual displays also displayed emergency messaging and direction and audible messaging? What if, when the panic button was pushed, our door access control would lock down instantly? This is what I'm talking about, closing the gap when seconds count. You may be thinking, yeah, that's cool, Rich, but we may not be able to afford this type of technology. And I understand. We're all at different stages of our life safety journey. Start small, but start now. You'd be surprised on what integrations are possible with the investments you've already made. We all can take key steps into closing the gap. At HBS, we take the approach, what can we do now? And how can we plan for the future? We help build baby steps, looking into budgeting, helping with funding mechanisms, and of course, flexible procurement methods. The infographic you guys see on your screen shows our interoperability wheel. As you can see, everything is moving into the technology department via the IP network. I want you guys to remember this. This is important. As we look towards building out a strategy, and we're looking at doors and alarms, make sure they integrate with your video surveillance system. There's no better analytic than video. This is my personal opinion. And when we're looking at phones, paging, and sensors, make sure they integrate with your mass notification system. If you do not know, ask. We're here to help. We want to make sure we can initiate the response effectively across all the technologies you've invested in. It's not one technology or solution that makes HBS a premier partner in your life safety journey. It's the multitude of local subject matter experts that makes HBS great. Now, you guys have all been waiting for this. Let's move into our breakout sessions. I'm super excited about this. What makes HBS great is that we're vendor agnostic. We understand every environment is different. The use cases are different. That's why we chose to highlight multiple vendors and partners today. Today, we'll have a total of 2 breakout sessions, each 20 minutes long. At the end of breakout session 1, we'll regroup as a team and move back into breakout session number 2, where we'll then focus in on situational awareness and advanced analytics. In breakout session number 1, we'll focus in on our critical infrastructure partners. First off, we have Verkada. Emily Harker will walk you through their innovative approach to life safety. I cannot say enough about this team. They make it easy when it comes to doors, cameras, guest management, alarms, and more. They also have a 10-year warranty. Access Communications. John Stukenberg will highlight why they have been a gold standard when it comes to on-prem and hybrid cloud safety solutions. He will talk about what's new with Access. And as you guys may or may not know, they have a very large portfolio, including doors, cameras, intercoms, clocks, and more. And finally, Avigilon Alta, one of our newer partnerships. Mark Guzan will blow us away with their full ecosystem of products like doors, cameras, radios, mass notification, and more.
All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is John Stukenberg, and I work for Access Communications. I'm based up in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, and today I am going to be showcasing a product that we have, really a suite of products. We call the product Access Camera Station. Many of you might already be familiar with it, but the name doesn't really fit anymore. As you may or may not know, Access is most well known for cameras. We invented the first IP camera in 1996 and have been the world leader ever since that time. But we do other things too. So we have a suite of software, we do speakers, body-worn cameras, just a number of different things. So what I was going to do is just show a real quick presentation on who Access is, just in case you guys aren't 100% familiar with who we are. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. This will show here. So I'll go through this real quick. This will take like 5 minutes. And then we'll jump into the demo itself. So who is Access? You'll see shortly. Okay, so this is a little bit of our agenda. So we have an introduction, who is Access, solutions offered, our live demo, and then questions. So who is Access? We're headquartered in Lund, Sweden, which is close to Copenhagen, Denmark, if you know where that is, if you ever visit Europe or right across the channel from them. But we're a worldwide company, so this is kind of just the stats on who we are. And this isn't really to brag on Access. This is really to show you that we have the capabilities to serve all your needs, wherever you are, whatever kind of business that you're in. So this kind of just gives some stats. This is an interesting one. We're part of the Canon Corporation. So Canon, as you know, the DSLR cameras, some pretty high-end stuff, and some of that technology makes itself into our cameras as well too. So a little bit more. So we're headquartered in Lund, Sweden. We have 62 offices. So we're probably around where you are. But then these experience centers are the most important part, I think. This puts us right in your backyard. Our nearest ones in my area would be in Minneapolis and Chicago, and soon we're going to have one in Milwaukee too. So that's a place where you can come in and meet Access employees, look at all the products, demo things, hold meetings. So that's available to you. So some of the things we're going to touch on today are a product called Site Designer. That's where we start when you ask us for a comprehensive solution. We designed it in this online program. We lay the cameras on it. We show you how everything would work together. We have our video management software, which again really isn't, it's really not just video anymore because we do access control in it as well as audio. Device Manager is a way for you guys to, anywhere in the world, to be able to manage your products. So, why Access, the Access Advantage? So we're open. That's one thing that sets Access apart is when you purchase Access products, they work with other products. So for example, our cameras are the most, I would say the most used in the world, and everybody writes software to talk to Access cameras. Life cycle costs, we have an average mean time failure of approximately 17 years on our products. So we offer a full 5-year warranty. However, we don't expect the products to fail at 5 years. As I mentioned, we have a 17-year mean time failure. Then we make our own chips. So we make our own chips that are made for video, and Access does that. And as you know, it's a very complicated thing. It's in the news a lot lately, but Access does that on our own. So that's it. That's all the presentation you're going to get from me as far as a PowerPoint, and now we can move into the fun stuff. So the product I'm going to show you here is called Access Camera Station. And again, really doesn't fit because I'm going to show you stuff in it that aren't necessarily cameras. So the first screen that we have is, what we would call our viewing screen. So the system is very tabular. We can open up a new screen, and this is what it would look like. We go to live view, and it's exactly what you think it would be. My system has 2 servers on it right now, one of them being the laptop that I'm doing this presentation on. The other one is kind of my home server, which sits at my home office here. So within that, we can make a number of different views. So this one, for example, is a door with a door intercom hooked to it. So if somebody swipes, we see their picture, and then we can let them in, or they come in automatically if they have access. This one here, is my apple trees. I watch deer. But we can make these views as busy as we want to, or as not busy. So for example, if I go to an all system view, we're going to see approximately 30 cameras here of my kind of home office. But a lot of you folks on this call, not all of you, but a lot of you are from school. So I kind of wanted to show how this would look maybe in a school environment too. So we can utilize maps. So if a person has multiple schools or businesses or anything else, we can lay these different icons on the map. So in my end, we're looking at the same school. We're looking at the inside and the outside, but we could have these scattered around the state. We click on them, and then we get to a map. And then this is something, so I know this meeting focuses a lot on kind of notification and tying everything together. So, if something should go down, we're able to click into a camera and see. So for example, the vehicle came in, did we get its license plate? So here's a vehicle that's, 300 some feet away. We're able to grab its plates. Here's another one we can just kind of hover over and see it's watching this, back shed area. But we can have these placed all over where they actually logically see to make responding to things very, very, very quick. I'm going to play a message for you here too. So let's say there is an event. We could push a button here and it'd sound like this.
May I have your attention, please? An intruder has been reported in the building. Please remain calm, return to the nearest safe shelter area, and be alert for further instructions.
Simultaneous to that, we could have a message playing outside the building. That sounds like
May I
this.
have your attention, please? An intruder has been reported in the building. Please remain calm and move away from the building to the safe shelter location and be alert for further instructions. I repeat, do not enter the building. Wait for further instructions.
And then hopefully we find out this was a false alarm or this was just a drill or something else, and it'd be natural to play a message like this
May I have
afterwards.
your attention, please? The intruder alert that was issued earlier has been cleared. It is now safe to enter the building and resume normal activities.
So this is kind of the map function working with different cameras. So this could be as busy as we wanted, and if we wanted to see like, what it would look like on the inside of a school, this is what it could look like. So now as we hover over each of these cameras, we get kind of a view of what's happening in there. But it would work the same way. As we click on them, then we see what we're looking at. So if the camera is experiencing motion, here's me doing my presentation, you'll see that there's a kind of an icon showing that there's motion at that one. So this is live viewing. Now there's something, if we kind of know what time something happened, we could go here to recording and we could say, let's pick up a different one here. Let's say on this back sidewalk camera that something happened. If it's going to be people, we have the ability to pick up just people. So when I click on this, there's going to be a person on the screen. So each time I look back at this, this should be a person. Same here, same person a lot of times in this case. But if we see something of interest to us, so let's go to our forward one here. So if we see something like this, it's very, very simple for us just to export that scene very quickly. We get something that looks like this. We hit export. It'll ask us where we want to save it. We can save it. Now we can do this from a web browser as well as from this. So all these functions I've shown you can be done through a web browser too, from anywhere. So, but because a lot of you folks are from schools, I wanted to show you another function that we have on here. So if we export this one, we can go ahead and edit this video. And because we're dealing with minors and so on, we could say we want to the video background to be pixelated because maybe there's a lot of kids in here that we don't want to expose. But then we could put a bounding box around that person, okay? So then what we can do is we can edit this part of the video. So we have our original and we have our exported original, but then we can make one that just shows our person while protecting everybody else. So as I play this, and now if we want to go back and see what that would look like, so now we could export it. So this is really pretty traditional stuff, minus maybe this editing that we did here. But that's not necessarily how systems are used today. Today, we wanted something better than that, right? We don't always know what time something happened. We don't always know what we're looking for. So we have something on here. I'll close some of these windows here so I don't. Sometimes yes is right, sometimes no is right. So we're going to go ahead and close this. And sometimes we run into situations where we don't know exactly. We know what we're looking for, but we don't know when it happened. So we have something here where we could search, and you can see I was messing with this a little bit earlier, but we can type in anything we want. So in this case, let's type in UPS truck. So search all this video for the last 48 hours and look for it. Now, hopefully I had a UPS truck in this driveway. Yeah, it didn't. So I had an Amazon, some other stuff, but we did not have a UPS truck. So let's go back to something that I know we had here. So person wearing a green shirt. And if I spell green right, it probably will work a little better. So if we do a search from here, we're searching 7 of our cameras. I have a pretty small server, so if this were installed at your place, you'd have a lot more processing horsepower. So here we see a lot of people with a green shirt. Here's a really good view of somebody we're looking for. So now we can say, hey, let's use this as the person we want to search for. Now we hit search again. So we look, at first for somebody in a green shirt. Now we're looking for something more specific. And now we can see all the instances of this person. So I know my kids were playing Splat Gun or something last night. So now we can go to the recorded video for that. And we can go right to that clip of that person and do the same thing if we wanted to. So this can be very, very helpful. If I go ahead and, I've got to be careful, I don't close out my window here. So if I want to go ahead and search again here, let's do another fun one. Let's just do, well, how about bald guy? I know one of those guys pretty well. So if we hit search, we should see some bald guys on here, probably me. And there we go. So actually that's my neighbor. So he's a long ways away, but here's, so here's me, I'm pretty bald. So this is doing pretty good. If we're looking for this guy, same thing. We can go and search for more of me. So it'll put the most similar on top, and then it'll put the least, similar down below. So that's kind of advanced searching. But again, we're not just doing video in this system. So there's other things we can do with it too. And I want to show you some of that. So one of the features we can do is we can say in the last 30 days, we're going to look for vehicle data, and we're going to look for license plates. So if I hit search here, and then I'm going to sort this from earliest to latest. So most recent to not. So here we have an Amazon truck that literally showed up while I'm doing this demo. Here's their plate number, and you'll see that the plate number appears right in the video feed here, right up in here. So what that allows us to do then too is to notify. So any business, any school, anybody really has a reason maybe that if a certain plate shows up in their yard or on their property, they want to be notified. So what we can do now with this is we could take this plate number, we could copy it, we could go and make an action rule that says, hey, if this license plate comes in, notify security, send an email to somebody, send a text to somebody else. So we can do all these functions in here. But you'll see that as I click on this now, each time I do this, it'll be different vehicle. And this is reading the plates from about 200 feet away, and we can do this day or night. So I want to show you, I'll look for a nighttime shot here. So it's 5 o'clock. Yeah, problem is it stays light so long now, and we don't always get in after. Here we go. This will be a night shot. So here we're grabbing that plate, from about 200 feet away in the middle of the night. It's almost midnight during this call. So we're able to do that. We're able to notify somebody. If you're in a business, we could open a gate. We could check to see if employees are parking in the right spots. We can do all kinds of stuff with this. So that's another kind of searching. The other thing we could do with this system is we could go to data and we could say we want access control events. So if I want to say here that I want, I'll just hit search. Here's our access control events. So we could look for people in here if we want to. Or we could say we want event searches. We want everybody who was granted access. So if we hit search on that, and these are old. I haven't done these a lot, but or I haven't done them recently. But if we would swipe a card here, click on these events, the picture of the person swiping would show up here too. So this is kind of how it kind of works together. So the other thing I mentioned with the system is that we're tied together into a lot of different the systems you might have. So we can tie it to your Active Directory. We can use your cards out of your Active Directory to bring it into the system. But then we also have the ability to tie this back to the cloud. So that's called our connected services. And literally we just, we're not connected right now. I would hit connect, and this will go right up to the cloud. And then we're able to do things like web, viewing it from a web browser, viewing cameras, do smart searching from a web browser, so on. And that's also helpful for when you have police departments or other people involved that you don't want to let onto your site equipment. You can give them a link to something that's up in our cloud, and it takes the responsibility off yourself. So lastly, I think we're going to be running out of time here shortly. We talked about audio integration. So with what's called Audio Manager Pro, you can tie that right into the same system, and we can do pages throughout your building. From a graphical interface, we can have those pages go out, manually, like I showed you, where we push a button and have them go out. Otherwise, we could activate them via an event or something else. So very, very handy for us to be able to control everything under a single pane of glass. I'll show you one other thing, and it kind of relates to what we've been shown before. But cameras now, they're more than just 4K cameras. They're, really they have the smarts in them is what really makes them, I guess, pop, you could say. So if I want to look at one of the cameras that I have, this one watches my driveway, and as you saw, we were doing plates off of this. We're able to now go back and see vehicles that were, how fast they're going back and forth. So if I go to the recordings for this, every time that we see one of these blue dots, this is going to be a vehicle, and it's going to tell us the speed that it's going. So what can we do with that? Well, we could set a limit, and if a vehicle goes faster than a certain amount, we could be notified, or we could capture their license plate and their speed. So a lot of businesses have speed limits around their business that they need for insurance purposes. We can use something like that to find it. And then I'm down to 1.5 minutes left. And unfortunately, we're not doing questions during this session. That's going to be in the general session, but I did want to show you something else. So Axis makes by far the best cameras in the world. That's not even up for debate as far as I am concerned or know of. So this is an awesome 4-megapixel camera that we have. It is very, very good. But when we zoom in on this, this starts to pixelate. This is at 200 feet. Axis just released an 32 megapixel camera, 8K. Look at the difference, what we can do with that. So these are roughly the same frame starting out. Now we can roughly see this person that's sitting in it. So this is an 8K camera, a standard bullet camera that ties to a network drop that you have. But the resolution, it's unbelievable. So there'll be nobody else that has, something like this that runs as low bandwidth as we do. I run this just off my laptop that I'm doing the presentation on to show you guys. So I guess I'd maybe call this the Axis difference. So if you look at these vehicles back here, they're about 300 feet away. They look okay. But when we're bringing into our 8K camera, there's just a complete difference. So you can see this vehicle's got rust, things like that. So we're about out of time. We're down to 19 seconds, and I want to thank you all very much for joining today. And I look forward to getting back to the general session and then being able to answer some questions that you might have. Thank you.
We're going to start off here with just a little video that will kind of talk about what Rich had brought up previously here as far as acting on active events here. So go ahead and give me a second. Hopefully you're able to hear that. All right. So hopefully that that video came through. I'm not sure if the audio actually did or not. Having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning. So just wanted to jump in here real quick. I know we've only got a few minutes left here of our breakout session, and apologies to those that joined that weren't able to see everything here. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into a quick slide deck and just tell you a little bit about our product. So as mentioned, my name is Mark. I am with Motorola Solutions, and we've got a product that we wanted to talk today about by the name of Avigilon Alta. It's a video surveillance product, It does fit into the Motorola ecosystem, and that's really what's important here, is that the video product is part of an overall solution that helps you solve for safer. We want to be able to not only help you identify events, but we also want to help you act on them. So it's about an all-encompassing approach. Taking a look here real quick, there's a lot of competitors in the space for cloud video. Our cloud video product has the ability to meet you where you stand. We've got the ability to reuse existing cameras and help you create a path forward to the cloud with your video surveillance. We all know that you're up against quite a few things here in the world: threats, theft, people are in places that they shouldn't be, loitering, vandalism. All these things are threats to our environment that we want to be able to be aware of. The unique thing with our system is that we're able to identify people and vehicles. So what we can do is use those analytics to help us identify things as they're happening. And that's what it's all about, is identifying these things as they're happening. We've got a few things here on our approach: simple, smart, open, and future-proof. From a simplicity side of things, we're going to use a web browser to access the full system. There's no VPN, there's no downloading software. So we're browser based, mobile ready. We're available on Android and iOS. So we're going to be able to support you being able to view your system from anywhere in the world using just a web browser. From a smart side of things, cloud native, we're going to be able to help you identify those people and vehicles like we had just mentioned. Here we've got a small clip from our app. It's identifying a person in a parking lot where they're not supposed to be. We're going to call attention to that person. We are going to alert you. We can alert you in multiple ways through the app. We can also alert you through Google Chat, Microsoft Teams, SMS text message. We're going to be able to get that message to you that something is happening that's not supposed to be happening. And again, we can do that not only on our cloud native cameras, but we can also do those on your existing ONVIF-S compliant cameras. Continuing on that smart messaging, we can also alert things to happen based on events. So if we see a person in a parking lot, we can play a pre-recorded message that says, please vacate this facility. If we see kids are hanging out outside the school front doors after hours, we can play a pre-recorded message. We can turn on lights. We can alert authorities. All of these things are automated so that we can do them when we have nobody that's there monitoring the system. From an open side of things, this is one of our biggest advantages. We're an open platform. Open meaning you can bring those third-party.
The Avigilon person did join.
Oh, yep. We're open, meaning that you can bring your third-party cameras. And we're also open, meaning we're not going to lock you in. If you decide to purchase our cameras, those are your cameras to use, whether it's on our system or any other system, as long as it's ONVIF compatible. So we're not going to lock you in, and we're not going to force you to rip and replace everything to get to the cloud. Additionally, we've got all these other integrations here that we can work with. If any of these pop out at you, I know some of the more popular ones are the Google Suite, Microsoft Azure, and things like Okta. Value beyond security, we've got a lot of customers now that are doing things that have nothing to do with security with our system. We can count people, we can do heat mapping. Maybe you want to know where kids are hanging out most in the lunchroom or and sporting events or things like that. We can do heat mapping. Again, we can do people counting. We can do license plate recognition. Some of these things have nothing to do with security, but they just add added value to your system. Cloud done right. I'm not going to read off each of these to you. My favorites is our ability to get rid of servers. That's the end goal, is to get rid of servers. Servers have spinning hard drives. Hard drives eventually fail. We want to get rid of that single point of failure. So we push the recording out to the edge. We're going to record on the camera. We're going to provide analytics on the camera. Scalability with cloud video is unmatched as well. Gone are the days when we have to buy a box to support today's need and also future-proof us to make sure we've got tomorrow's need in mind. If we need to add 1 camera or 100 cameras, we can do that. It's camera plus license, and we're off. Taking a look at how the system lays out, we've got our cameras there on the top left. The cameras, again, are going to record on themselves with SD cards. There's going to be storage built into that camera, and then we also give you storage in the cloud. We're going to mirror that on-site footage up in the cloud. The cool thing is, as an organization, you get to decide when that update occurs, whether that's daily, hourly. You can dictate also what events get pushed up to the cloud. We can mix and match storage. So if you want some cameras to have 30 days, some cameras to have 90 days, we can do that. And then again, there's that laptop up in the top right, just using our Chromium-based browser to access the full system. So we're not going to require a VPN. We're not going to require you to load software on a machine. You just simply pop open your computer, hit that web link, and you've got the full system right there. We also support Android and iOS apps. We're ISO 27001, which is the ISO compliance for cybersecurity. So we take that very seriously. We support single sign-on and two-factor authentication. And then we've got access control as well as part of this platform. This slide right here, I want to focus in on, when Rich gave his portion of the presentation here to start with, there was a big focus on having not only left of bang, but right of bang taken care of. And I would say that our system is very much geared in that same realm. Avigilon Alta, which is the cloud video product that we're going to look at here, this is to identify something that's happening. All of the rest of these things that are provided by Motorola are here to help us respond to that incident. So that can be things like our radios, that can be things like incident management. So, Rich kind of walked through that incident taking place. We don't want to have to be pulling out 3-ring binders to pull out the SOP and say, what do we do in this event? We can automate those things. We can automate them based on people being in certain places. We can automate them based on things like gunshot detection, glass breaking, and things like that. So what it does is it provides us to handle left of bang as well as right of bang. So we're going to handle that as well.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining HBS's webinar today about when seconds count. My name is Emily. I'm the rep from Verkada representing our company today. I cover Northern Wisconsin, working primarily in the K through 12 and government sector. Just a little background on myself. I grew up out in Oregon in a town called Roehrick. Our community college in that area was Umpqua Community College, which unfortunately back in about 2015 experienced the deadliest shooting to the state in Oregon. And a lot of the people that I grew up with, went to high school with, were attending that college. And unfortunately, quite a few of them lost their lives on that date. And so this topic truly hits close to home for me. I also went into teaching for about 5 years before moving over to this space. And so all of this, having been in that space, having lost people to an active shooter, it really matters a lot to me. And that's a primary reason why I came to work for Verkada with the technology that really protects people and places today. So hopping into it, Verkada, we are the leading cloud security manufacturer in the world for video security. We also are one of the leaders in access control, alarms, intercoms, guest management, all of these different products that we offer. And really the key with Verkada is that all of it is centralized into a single platform. And so those can work together seamlessly to really protect you guys when those seconds truly count. Additionally, it makes it a lot quicker and easier from a support perspective, from a sharing perspective on your guys' end. And so today we have over 30,000 customers worldwide, over 8,000 resellers around the globe, including Heartland Business Systems, which is our premier partner here in the Midwest region. And moving forward a little bit, I already mentioned everything kind of comes to the same platform, but what I wanted to cover today and hopefully be able to show you guys in our system is how we mitigate risk using things like proactive alerts and having everything in that single pane of glass platform. We try to prevent as much as possible by creating things like person of interest profiles, license plate of interest profiles, doing instant background screenings with our guest check-in, doing secure entryways with door access, panic buttons, guest, all of that together. And we try to respond quickly in these instances by using live floor plans with your law enforcement, live monitoring services that can respond to, let's say, panic scenarios, panic buttons that then could trigger immediate dispatch and customized lockdowns. And then when everything is said and done, let's say that the building is cleared, in that case, with our roll call reports and with our blue light pole stations and other API integrations with places like Singlewire, we're able to do quick reunifications after something has actually happened. And so I'll be touching on that today. Just to kind of share some of what our customers have found, one of the schools using Verkada over in Australia highlighted that by implementing Verkada, it now only takes minutes to find, save, and share footage, seconds to be able to view and respond to campus events, and they can instantly respond to live readings, whether that's just from something as simple as vape sensors or something bigger, like a true active shooter scenario. One of the school districts that I work with here in Wisconsin has also found that they, in emergency scenarios, are able to quickly find and work with law enforcement. And that came in handy when they had a student go missing And they were able to find later with the quick response through the cameras that she had left the school with an older gentleman she had talked to online. They worked with law enforcement, provided the footage, the license plate, all of that, and were able to recover her within an hour. Additionally, we find on the law enforcement side that we're able to cover much larger areas, more remote coverage, and really tie everything together into a single system so that they can identify where people have been, where they are, where they're headed, especially on the vehicle front, where we find that a lot of violent crimes kind of start. They have to get to your location somehow, and that's where a lot of that can be done. As just a key summary benefit here, we do a 10-year product warranty on all of our hardware. We do unlimited users with the system, unlimited cloud archiving, so you can save as much footage as you'd like, automatic firmware and software updates, so we continue to push out new features and capabilities to you, 24/7 support with our engineering team. And when we look at a 10-year period, we're typically saving about 20% cost savings for our customers, as well as giving you predictable renewal costs in the long term. So hopping over to our Verkada command, I'll actually show you some of the highlights here. Now, I'm not going to dive into every single detail. I really want to focus on what we talked about with 1 second's count. And so if you do want to dive deeper, meet with your HBS rep, or they can connect you on the Verkada team as well, and we can dive into what you guys need to actually take a look at. So starting it off, Verkada command can be accessed here in a mobile browser, or you can log in through our app, which is available on both iPhone and Androids. And all of your products are here in the single system. You can manage additional sites, around your, let's say your hospital system with hundreds of locations, or a school district with 5 buildings, or even on a smaller scale, if you really are all in just one single location, but maybe you have different wings that you want to treat separately, that gives you a lot of flexibility here. Now, the first line of defense is typically our guest check-in. And so if you do implement this, let's say in the front office of a school or your building, you're able to immediately screen visitors that come through here. If we click in and see Giovanni that checked in, we can see that he used his license plate there. We immediately screen across a number of different databases, including FBI Most Wanted and Interpol, all the way down to like your local county criminal database or sex offender list. And when we do so, we can also screen across a deny list for you. So if you have like parents that can't pick up their kids because they're divorced and don't have rights, ex-employees who should not be coming back, other individuals in the community like sex offenders who have already been preemptively identified by law enforcement, any of those people could be put on that deny list and automatically screened. On the vice versa side, approval lists are also an option here, where if you have volunteers that are constantly coming through, they can auto approve. But really the key piece here is once we check them in, if they have been good to go, but we're still, being wary of where they're going on site, it ties in immediately with our cameras, so that because we have his face, that entire visit, we're able to see where Giovanni actually went while he was there. And so if somebody, let's say, comes to your school district saying that they're there to visit their kid in Mrs. Smith's classroom, but we open this up and notice that they're actually across the building in a different location, that's an instant red flag. And so by doing this, we're able to stay on top of where people are on your site. You're not just letting them in and forgetting about it, and hopefully preventing potential threats to your site. Now, diving a little bit deeper into the cameras, there's plenty of things that we could cover with our cameras. I'm just going to highlight probably 3 things for you today. One would be our people search. So if you're given a description of somebody who could be a potential threat at your site, go ahead and insert any description you're given. Maybe they're wearing a red shirt, blue jeans, things along those lines. We can immediately find, maybe if it was this guy that we were concerned about, the footage of him coming through here. We also have live shortcuts where we could follow him through to other cameras and quickly figure out where he came and went. By pausing here, though, we have a recent feature update where I can then click on him and it's going to scan across all of our cameras. We immediately know where he came and went all throughout the building in real time as well. And then separate from that, if this is someone who's maybe now left the site, we clicked in, looked at that and saw he's gone, we could create what we call a person of interest profile, so that if he does come back, we can set up alerts for that site or across our entire command org and be notified the second that a camera detects him in the future. So that allows us to be as proactive as we possibly can here to truly prevent situations from happening. If you already have the photo of somebody that you are concerned about, you can also just upload that photo here, create that same type of profile. And we can do the same type of thing for plates, or even combine the two together. So if you have the plate of the person you're concerned about, you can build those into one single profile. Now, this is our people tab where you could dive a little bit deeper with even more description here with personal protective equipment, things like that. But on the vehicle end, we can also search the same way. So again, thinking back to where most crime starts, like we see with law enforcement, starts the vehicle, how they're arriving at your location. And so by having exterior coverage facing the street that you're on or the parking lots that you have, we can also start the searching there, where we could say, hey, we had a Tesla coming through here and loitering in our parking lot. We think that maybe they're casing the joint. Maybe they also had a bumper sticker from what we noticed. I can filter down using a bunch of those descriptors and find the car we're looking for here. If you do have LPR built out with us, it's going to auto tag the plate for you as well. Immediately, you could share that over with your law enforcement and be on top of everything happening. Now, for our license plates, we can also feed over into this screen where we can see how often they're coming through, if these are new sightings or frequently seen. We can see where they're actually showing up. So we've got locations over here on the right. So immediately, if we're covering a large area or multiple streets, we know what side of the building they're coming from. We can always mark those plates as plates of interest and again, create those alerts like I mentioned. Now, I do want to hop over now to our Actually, I'll cover one more camera item here, which is our AI search. So taking all of those analytics together and going a little bit deeper, we rolled out our AI search, which is a free form text search, just like Google would be, where I can either reverse image search if I'd like to, or put in a description of what I'm looking for. So potentially, maybe I'm just looking for a delivery box that got left that we're not sure where it came from. We're concerned about a potential bomb threat or something like that. I could search person carrying box, filter it by locations, dates, any number of items there, and be able to immediately find that footage. If there's a description of somebody or a vehicle that we were given that we weren't able to find on cameras, but maybe we're concerned about them coming in the future, you can also build that out here and then create an alert based off of that descriptor as well. So it gives you as much flexibility as you need to be able to protect your campus. Now, I'll just mention, we do integrate with one of the other presenters, ZeroEyes, where if you wanted to have that gun detection on the Verkada cameras, we can do those together as well. Now, let's say, people have checked into the building, we think we're safe, all our visitors have been screened, but an incident does occur. In that scenario, ideally we have panic buttons set up. A lot of schools have these in their offices. More and more schools are actually implementing these across all of their classrooms. We're seeing this in healthcare, retail, really all over the place. And those panic buttons can be set up to either immediately dispatch the second that they're hit, or to go through to our live monitoring services who would be able to take a look at this and see what exactly happened, alert whoever you set up on your end to receive alerts. Those alerts would then show up just like this, where on your end, if you're that person, you'll see the address via Google Maps, know exactly where this is happening, have the footage tied into it so you can see in real time what's occurring. And then you have the option here to resolve it. Maybe it's somebody on your team just showing up outside of normal hours, or request that dispatch if we don't already have it set to automatically dispatch. Now, going back over to the screen, let's say that we have it set up to immediately dispatch and we want it to be set up to also trigger lockdowns. We can customize those lockdowns that panic button is triggering in a couple ways. So let's say that I'm, again, going back to my school example, I am a high school. I can choose the message that would go out to all of our users, which is probably going to be your faculty, law enforcement, administration, everyone that you've got there loaded into your system. Could be something like lockdown, shelter in place, or whatever you would like as that instruction to go out. When we trigger these lockdowns, we do also integrate with things like Informacast via Singlewire, where it would also send out mass messaging that you could set up to, let's say, all the parents in your district. And so you've got lots of options on how you could create it. But when we go in here, we'll choose what doors are involved in our lockdowns. And so I chose a site there. Within that site, I can say all doors, or I could get really specific and have it just be specific wings of our building. And then we also have the option within our users to choose who can activate a lockdown, which maybe you want to keep that open to all of your faculty, who can then deactivate the lockdown. So maybe we want to have that be like just your law enforcement and maybe like your administration groups. And then who's actually allowed to unlock doors during that lockdown. This is a really key factor so that we can give the flexibility we need to certain individuals to be able to clear the buildings when there is a lockdown incident. And once those are set up, those different lockdown scenarios you've created will be set here. We can have those triggered via those panic buttons, or you can trigger it like here in command. For example, when I activate this one, we'll get a banner. It will automatically send out that message that we've set up to all of our users. If I then want to release a lockdown, I can just click that here and choose to release that. In those lockdown scenarios, let's say I have triggered it with a panic button, we've gone into lockdown, the message has gone out. One of the key pieces we also have built in with all of our devices, really tying it together, is our floor plans. These are live with all of our devices attached. So we've got live cameras, air quality sensors, our doors. With this all being live, if you already have law enforcement built into your system, they're going to immediately know to go take a look at this the second that they get that notification that you've gone into lockdown. They can also turn on this motion detection button, and on the cameras, it'll start flashing where we're seeing motion throughout the building. In a real lockdown scenario, we shouldn't see as much flashing as we are here. So it's going to help them know exactly where they need to respond to the building. If they want to check what's triggering the motion, they can click into those live feeds. And that way, the second they're arriving there, they don't have to wait outside, spending all that time trying to figure out where they're going to enter the building. And if they already have that access given to be able to unlock doors as they go, they're going to be able to clear the building a lot more effectively and really maximize on the seconds that they have to save lives. Additionally, if they want to go in and they want to share out any camera feeds or the floor plans, they have the flexibility to do so there. Now, the last key factor is going to be post-lockdown. How do we reunify everybody? And so one of the ways that we do that is with our access control and in integration with our guest management, we can actually pull what we call a roll call report. And you can preset these to pull whatever individuals you would like to. So let's say that this one, we'll do this one here. This one's actually pulling all of our employees at a single building at our headquarters. So it's actually quite a few people. And it's going to run those and figure out if we've checked them in yet. Are they safe? Are they missing? And that can be done via our blue light pull stations, where maybe you want everybody to go to a specific location outside the building, scan in teachers with their students, right? And track it that way, or manually you could go in. So you could have that be on any access control door. Maybe you just want to go through step by step and mark them as safe here. Then you can do that easily and be able to see across everyone, plus your visitors, because the tie-in with the guest management, knowing what visitors are still there, have not been checked in. It gives you all of that flexibility there. Now, again, going back to our API integrations, if we're working with like Informacast on this, you could use that mass messaging as well to go ahead and make sure everyone is safe and reunified. Give everyone instructions as you need to. Additionally, 911 Inform, one of the other presenters on this that we integrate with, their floor plans allow real-time communicating between law enforcement and your faculty, and could again be used for that unification as well. Hopefully I have covered kind of the main factors and pieces that really come in handy in these emergencies. There's a lot more than just this, and so I would encourage you to meet with Heartland Business Systems or Verkada and dive a little bit deeper. What I will say is that because of our integrations, we have tons and tons of partners that really build on this system and create that full, start to end solution. But our goal is that with our stuff alone, you still have all the tools that you need to get stuff done, to be prepared, to mitigate, prevent, to respond, and to unify during these emergency scenarios. If you're also wondering, I'm not sure how we can afford this at this point, we do also have a grant assistance program that we can walk you through and have you guys take a look at. They will walk you through processes, help you find grants depending on who you are, law enforcement, government, schools, nonprofit. But beyond that, I will just go ahead and click to the screen here. So feel free to scan the QR code when you have a second. And if you would like a free trial, just fill in your info on that link. And us and HBS will be in contact to actually get you trials of any of our products that you would like to. We can extend that trial from 30 days up to 90 days, really giving you time to play around with the system and any of the products that you feel like are going to be helpful for you guys. If you do have additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Thank you so much.
Welcome back from breakout session 1. Sounds like we had a little bit of technical difficulty from the start, but everybody got situated. So thank you for your patience. I hope you had some good takeaways from that session. We'll now move into breakout session number 2, where you'll be able to choose from 3 solutions that focus in on situational awareness and advanced analytics. First off, Singlewire. Take a ride with Dave Nelson. He will highlight how Singlewire is changing the game when it comes to mass notification, critical event management, and guest management, based right here in Madison, Wisconsin. Number 2, we have 911 Inform. Jay Nelson from 911 Inform is helping integrate paging, phones, cameras, doors, and maps to effectively communicate with your safety team and authorities when seconds count. And finally, we have ZeroEyes, founded by our very own Navy SEALs, enhancing your video surveillance with AI and eyes on glass to instantly alert authorities when a firearm is detected in your building or your parking lot. At the end of breakout session 2, you'll be brought back into the main room where we'll answer any questions you may have.
Well, great. Let's go ahead and get started here. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Brent Suda. I'm the VP of Channel Sales and Partnerships over here at ZeroEyes. I've got about 20 minutes here, so I'll keep this pretty lean and light here. We are not doing Q&A in here at this time. We're going to do it into the main session. We'll all roll back into there. So certainly, if you can jot down any questions, that'd be much appreciated. So today, quick background on myself. I've been in the security industry, security technology space for a couple decades. And actually the second half of my career, though, I focused on pretty much one thing, which is active shooter preparedness, detection, and critical communication. So everything surrounding this active shooter realm. Everything also from gunshot detection to critical communications and now AI weapons detection. So, which is where I'm at here today at ZeroEyes. So I'm going to give you guys a quick overview on ZeroEyes. I realize some of you guys are actually probably familiar with us here at ZeroEyes. Some of you guys may actually be customers already. And some of you guys, this is the first time you guys are hearing about us. So a quick overview on ZeroEyes. We are an AI weapons detection system. We utilize your existing video cameras that you guys have in place, and we're able to detect a visible or brandished weapon, gun, that the camera can see. And once it sees it, we go through a human verification process. And then from there, we alert law enforcement with everything from picture of the shooter, picture of the gun, address, GPS coordinates, and also picture of the actual building facility that the camera is actually located in. So I'm going to give you guys a quick overview and demo of what this actually looks like as well, and let you guys see how some of our other customers are actually utilizing our system. So let me go ahead and transition through here real quick. Okay. So I also like to mention real fast, you know, I guess it's fairly obvious, but what we're doing and our main goal of being in business is really to prevent a mass shooting from happening, or actually any shooting for that matter. If we can detect a gun early, prior to someone actually shooting the gun, that is, of course, what our goal is. And the company was actually founded back in 2018. So we're a 6-7-year-old company now. The company was founded by 4 former Navy SEALs. These guys did multiple missions out in the Middle East after 9/11, came back after 2012, got their Ivy League MBAs, went to work for corporate America, and everything was fine and dandy up until 2018. So that was, you guys probably remember, wasn't all that long ago. That was the Parkland, Florida, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting out in Florida. 17 people shot, 17 people killed. Very bad day in our history. And at that time, back in 2018, again, it wasn't all that long ago, but the whole thing that everybody was talking about for active shooter scenario was, how do we reduce response time? And that's important because, in other words, how do we get the cops there quicker? Very important stuff. We still do that today. But what our guys were thinking of back then was, wouldn't it be better and smarter if we could actually just prevent the shooting from happening in the first place? And so that was kind of what set us down this path, and that was kind of how ZeroEyes was actually formed. They thought, though, the only way to do that is to use existing infrastructure, like existing cameras that are already in place, and to utilize and leverage this thing called artificial intelligence, which at the time was not all that popular, still kind of a scary, nerdy, techie kind of thing that only a small amount of people were very familiar with. Today, fast forward, of course, we've got ChatGPT, which really kind of paved the way for AI to become a very mainstream, normal technology that today we're utilizing in all aspects of our lives. So if we fast forward, though, today to what ZeroEyes looks like, quick snapshot, where we're at today, we're a couple hundred employees strong, growing pretty rapidly. We are the, I guess you could say, that 800-pound gorilla within our AI weapons detection space. We don't have customers in all 50 states yet, but we're making our way across the country, with our corporate headquarters being in Philadelphia. One thing I do like to mention is, while we serve and support all different major industries and verticals, the one industry that was the first industry that we focused on, that we have probably the biggest footprint, is definitely inside that education space, both K through 12 as well as higher education. Certainly, this has kind of come to light in a lot of the recent shootings, most notably here, the recent one here at Florida State University. So one other thing I'll mention here before we kind of dive in is that we hold, being the inventors of this industry, this AI weapons detection industry, utilizing existing video cameras that are already in place. We're the only ones that have this lower left corner here, Department of Homeland Security Safety Act full designation. And that certainly puts us in a category all our own. And for a lot of folks, people won't actually look at any sort of technologies that don't actually have that sort of certification. All right, so here's what we see as a challenge. How does this stuff work? So, you know, we're trying to look for a gun, a visible gun, brandished gun, not a concealed weapon. If it was a concealed weapon hidden inside of a bag that nobody can see, of course, that would be more down the line, down the alley of like some sort of metal detector or concealed weapons detection. What we're doing is we're looking for a visible gun. So how do we do that? We, of course, need to utilize the cameras that are already in place. So when you're looking at something like this, obviously this is a challenge in order to be able to pull that out and actually see the gun. So you need to utilize AI for that. So here's our solution. We actually, again, utilize existing cameras. Here's an example of this actually in action. Here's a guy in a subway, pulled out a gun. This guy happened to be intoxicated. We still don't know why he actually pulled out the gun. These other folks that are sitting here on the benches here, innocent bystanders, very loud down there. They had no idea what was even happening. We, of course, detected it, even though it was a small handgun, barely visible to the naked eye. Once we detected it, a minute and a half later, law enforcement shows up. We do not discriminate. A non-law enforcement gun from a law enforcement gun. They were, of course, able to arrest this gentleman here shortly thereafter. So what we look at it as is really just a three-step process. So what we do is, again, step one, the detection. We're utilizing existing cameras. Very simple requirements. It just has to be an IP camera, minimum 720p resolution, which are most of the cameras out there today. And I do like to mention also all the different sponsors, partners here today. Obviously, we work with HBS, or a very valuable reseller partner of ours. The other camera solutions, Verkada, Avigilon Alta, as well as Access, we work with all those cameras out there. So if you guys are utilizing any of those, we certainly are able to leverage those cameras you guys have in place. So step one, again, utilizing the existing camera, we're able to make that detection in under a second. As soon as we make that detection of the visible firearm, we then go through a human verification process. So we have 2 security operations centers that are staffed 24/7, 365. We have these staffed with folks that are 100% former military and former law enforcement personnel. So, you know, to apply for that role, to be one of the analysts in there, to be looking at the cameras, you know, you have to be one of those types of folks. So we then go through this verification process of confirming, yes, this is a real gun that we detected, or it is not. And once we confirm it is in fact a real gun, then what we do is we push and alert everything over to local law enforcement, as well as to security points of contact directly at the customer site. And we're going to provide picture of the shooter, picture of the gun, address, GPS coordinates, and again, picture of the building. And all this happens step 1, step 2, step 3 in a time frame of approximately 3 to 5 seconds. So if you're thinking, gosh, I think I understand how this works, this is just a quick little example of that. And the way that you think it works is probably exactly how it works. This is taken straight from the 2023 Michigan State University shooting. Of course, they became a customer right after it happened. Unfortunately, it wasn't before, but yes, they became a customer. Same thing also here just recently with Florida State University. Again, they had that recent shooting, and it's really sad that after they have shootings, then unfortunately these organizations become customers. So I'm going to walk you guys through this real fast. This is going to give you really kind of tie it all together and really give you this quick visual as to how this really actually works. So it's fairly simple technology in terms of how the workflow actually works, but behind the scenes, it's pretty cool stuff. So what I've compiled here is a single pane of glass of a bunch of different perspectives. Nobody actually ever sees all of these things all in a single pane of glass like this. It's just not necessary. What I've done is I've compiled some of these together to help make the explanation of how this works a little bit easier. So first off, let me kind of describe a couple of these. First off, upper left corner, live camera view. I like to mention we are FERPA compliant, which has to do with facial recognition, storing of images of faces, that kind of stuff, looking at live video footage. We are FERPA compliant, so we actually don't do that. The only thing that actually looks at the live camera view is going to be our AI bot. None of our human beings do that. So I'm showing this to you, though, just because it'll help make all this other stuff make a little bit more sense. Down here on the bottom, lower left corner, where it says none, this is exactly where my Security Operations Center analysts are actually looking at. They're looking at basically a blank screen that says none until a gun is detected. Then when it's detected, we will take, in essence, a screenshot of what the camera can see. We will drop it down into where it says none. And then, of course, now my Security Operations Center analyst has something to look at. By the way, we call our Security Operations Centers our ZOC. ZOC stands for ZeroEyes Operations Center. So my ZOC analysts are the guys that are actually looking at it. Last thing here, lower in the middle here, where it has a picture of the building. This is, of course, the actual picture of the building. This is going to work directly exactly the same way. Also, if you happen to have the Inform 911 integration as well. So these little turquoise colored pin drops are the actual camera locations within that building. So we're going to know which camera and where in that building it is that actually detected the gun. So let me go and fire this thing off. And so you can see it. I'm going to pause it here in just a quick second and give a little bit of color here. So what's actually happened here? So there was a gentleman right here. He's got a bag of guns. He grabbed that gun, and immediately that AI bot was able to detect the gun. We took that screenshot, we dropped it down to where the alert page here where it used to say none, and now my ZOC analyst has something to look at. He's able to zoom in with some proprietary magnification technology, and he sees, yep, this is a real gun. We're going to go ahead and alert law enforcement. So you can see that red bounding box in there. Immediately, he pushes everything directly to law enforcement, as well as this went directly to the security points of contact at the customer site. Now, another thing that you'll notice here, that picture of the building, immediately that external camera that identified the gun, that saw the gun, changed colors, and it also tells us it was 7 seconds that have elapsed since that camera detected the gun. All right, let's keep this thing rolling here. So what's happening next? Well, we're continuing to make detections. You can kind of see as the person continues to move around. You'll notice that my ZOC analyst is hitting dispatch multiple times. Okay, now the reason why is because we're getting a better, clear, closer picture of the shooter's face, which we want to pass along not only to law enforcement, but also directly to security points of contact at the customer site. Now, upper left live camera view, you're noticing him walk indoors and immediately a different camera takes over. So the first thing people say is, holy cow, what you're saying, Brent, is you can just track the shooter around the building with the cameras? And the answer is, of course we can, as long as he has a gun. So that's the second thing. Now what you're noticing, he's actually walked into a dark room. What you'll notice is, remember, he was wearing dark clothing, black clothing. He's switching from a long rifle to a handgun. And this will kind of show you that this technology works indoors, outdoors, daytime, nighttime, in a parking lot. It doesn't really matter. It's able to detect a gun. That's obviously the infrared working on the in the dark. Now, as he continues to move around the facility, you'll notice there's different detections that are being made. Upper middle here, yes, we have a native mobile app that'll push out directly to any stakeholders that wish to receive these alerts as they're happening. Text messages, emails, etc., voice calls. It's all happening in real time. And of course, what we also notice here is that the different pin drops are giving us different locations, which tells us the last known location of where the shooter is actually at and potentially where they might be headed to next. Lastly, yes, we have multiple VMS integrations. So the various camera companies that we have on this webinar, as well as others, we have them where we can push in the keyframe images directly into the VMS. So you can also run different events and different processes as well that you might have in place. So ultimately, this hopefully ties it all together for you. A couple of questions that people tend to ask us are things like, do you guys actually make real detections? Do you have actual customers that use this? And how many lives have you saved? So can't answer all those, but we don't really know how many lives we've saved. But yes, we have thousands of customers in various different industries. We make gun detections every single day today. This is happening in school environments, as well as corporate enterprise, as well as in the public outdoor spaces. And yes, our detections have led to actual arrests. We've put over 50 people behind bars with this technologies that were going to do bad things, shooting up schools, shooting up businesses, etc. So we know that this has actually worked in real live environments. And just over the last couple of weeks, I think we've put in an additional dozen people behind bars. The gun violence is escalating quite rapidly. At the same time, we're putting in more ZeroEyes in different schools, facilities across the country as well. So a couple of real world detections. I know I've got just a couple minutes left here. These are actual real world detections, not just, people invest in mock scenarios. These are actual real world detections that a lot of these have led to arrests. Here's a guy, upper left corner, black pants, black gun, walking very casually. Again, this is one that actually led to arrest. He fled the scene. The law enforcement cops were able to catch up with him 15 minutes later and arrested him. Upper right corner, gentleman here utilizing a long rifle. This is also an example of where it could easily be mistaken for a skid mark in the ground. So these are some of the difficult detections that we actually make. Lower left corner, it's hard to see, but this is actually some gang activity. This is actually, there's a long rifle. It's hard to see in AR style that, again, very difficult to see, but yes, we did pick that up. Up here in the, lower right, this is where we're able to make a detection off of a visitor camera. So yes, we're able to utilize those as well. These are some other detections on a platform. We show these as kind of a before and after, black on black, kind of hard to see. I think we have 2 minutes. Okay, so that sort of detection is easily still made. That led to an arrest. You can see he's on the ground. Same thing here from a camera directly up above. Sometimes that's difficult to see because of the angle. No problem. We're able to make that. That leads to an arrest. Here's some also additional gang activity. Here's also inside of another platform. Again, even if it's a handgun, doesn't matter. We're able to make those sort of detections. Outdoor, past 2 hands on the same gun, multiple shooters. We get those sort of questions asked as well. This is an employee that should not have been doing this, but it doesn't matter. Again, law enforcement, even security, pulling a prank, we're going to be able to detect that. Also here on a subway, this is one that we like to show, which is through glass and also able to make a detection even in a very strange angled environment. So multiple shooters, here's an example of multiple shooters, multiple detections, as well as daytime, nighttime, crowded environments. And lastly, in my last 30 seconds here, what I'm going to actually tell you is real quickly how this actually works behind the scenes. We created this environment. You basically, with what everybody says is in the AI world, you're only as good as your AI database of images. And in our instance, this is gun images. What we did was to create this environment and make it work. We have a couple thousand guns. Actually, we're about to run out of time. Thank you very much. We'll see you back in the main room.
So my name is Jay Robinson. I'm with 911 Inform. I cover the entire Midwest for 911 Inform, and really happy to be here today. What you're going to see from us is all the other manufacturers that are here presenting today, we actually integrate with. So if you have those solutions, if you're looking at those solutions, one thing you're going to find is we're kind of Switzerland in the whole game. We try to tie into whatever you, the customer, already have in your environment rather than having to make you go purchase something new. So I'm going to start. This is a short agenda. We've got a short amount of time. Who is 911 Inform? What do we do? I'll quickly kind of identify the three really distinct modules that we have and where you can subscribe to any one of those or collectively look at them all. But we'll really talk about what makes this platform so highly unique. And then I'm going to show you a brief demo. This is something that really takes being seen to really understand. So I think you're going to find that seeing the demo, it is an eye opener. And when we do this with you, with your group, one of the things that I won't be able to do today that I would, I find very enlightening for clients is I can pass this to your cell phone and you can open doors, look at cameras, things like that. No app, no download, no nothing required. So after we're done here today, take some time to schedule a demo with your unique needs and environment, and we can make that happen. So you're going to hear from Jay Robinson today. I've been here 3 years. My wife's a school teacher. This platform was initially built to combat the craziness going on in schools. I'm pretty darn passionate about it, but don't take Jay's word for it. There is plenty of information out there, A, on our website, B, on YouTube or Google. Lots of news coverage, lots of podcasts on our platform. So there's a lot more out there other than just hearing what you're going to see today. So I'd like to talk on video because I talk with my hands. You'll see in a minute. But this is an emergency management platform that takes you, the client, and that could be anybody from schools, higher ed, healthcare, municipalities. We really kind of cover the gamut today in today's world because, as Rich was talking about, the craziness that really has, kind of started with schools, it really has morphed into every vertical, sadly so. But it's about being prepared where they're spending a lot of money making sure that they're protecting our children. You have staff, visitors also that need to be protected as well. So this platform really crosses over and is a platform to be shared between you, the customer, and your local public safety. This is all free to local public safety. You subscribe to the service, they get this at no charge, and we have retired safety, public safety personnel that go in and train their dispatch, their first responders on its use, so they can come back and better collaborate with you, the client, to create new standard operating procedures that perhaps you can't even think of today. So on this platform then ride three distinct modules, and overarching over all of these modules are not just digitized floor plans like Rich showed you earlier, but digitized and interactive during the emergency event. So if on-scene personnel know of where an emergency is, not where the call may have originated from, but wherever the emergency is and where the response needs to go, that can be updated to respond to that location rather than the trigger off of the phone system and where a call may have been dialed 911. But the first module is really about helping clients get and stay compliant with the federal laws that are out there. Kerry's Law, Ray Baum's Act, and then for schools, Alyssa's Law is one that is coming down the pike. So with that in mind, Kerry's Law, pretty easy. You're going to be able to dial 911 from any device and get out to 911. Second one is a lot harder, Ray Baum's Act. With voice over IP today, I can literally be anywhere. I'm actually in Northwest Indiana, and my phone on my desk is tethered to an application in New Jersey where we're headquartered. So with that in mind, without an application like ours, if I dialed 911, the response would go to the wrong location, and that's exactly what we try to fix. Let's make sure that not only are we sending the proper location, but additional information along with that, but make it manageable for clients to be able to do this. So we do this in a way that makes sense for IT and telecom, and I'm able to send a lot more than just location data. How about if I could send those digitized maps along with the room, and here's the nearest door to make entry, which you'll see in just a minute. So the second module on the application is really one of the first game changers in the platform. So with that in mind, how about if we could also alert on 911 cellular calls from a customer's property? So we can geofence the entire property, and now anybody with an Android or Apple device walks inside to that geofence and dials 911, and we're able to alert exactly where that is while the call is going to 911. We're leveraging some software there from a company called RapidSOS that actually has the capability to supply to public safety today very granular information on where all these callers are, because this volume of calls to 911 represents about 85% of all 911 calls. 15% come from PBXs and landlines. So with that in mind, we're able to deliver 100% visibility of all emergency calls to a client, not just a small subset of them. So your safety and security teams at your organizations may find this of high value, because in today's world, people run to an emergency to help, from an emergency to get safe, and then they grab the phone in their pocket and dial 911. So this can become a panic button literally in everybody's pocket. No app to download, nothing to maintain, very easy to install. Last module, connected buildings. All the other vendors that are in play today and all the other breakouts that are going on are video surveillance, mass notification, ZeroEyes has weapons detection on it. So I can tie into, this is the first time we ever have any hardware. Our application lives in the AWS GovCloud. I put a gateway in behind your firewall and now can talk to the technology that's already there. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 300 plus integrations already done. Everybody on the webinar today is one that we have an integration already built to, but that doesn't say that we wouldn't look at something that you have that isn't on the list. So with that in mind, this list will continue to grow, and it's really about leveraging what you already have invested in and making it more usable during an emergency event, both for you and temporarily during the emergency. You could pass that capability to public safety for their use during the emergency event. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump over to jump out of this, and I'm going to jump into the demo to be able to show you what exactly this looks like. So this is a dashboard of our application. And on here, I can trigger from a 911 call. I could trigger from a panic button. This could be off of weapons detection on video surveillance. This could be triggered by a button press because somebody called in a bomb threat at your location. I can lock the building down with one click. I can lock down an entire school district in one click, or other facilities. Fire, you get the idea. And as Rich mentioned, this is really important. We can also drill on these workflows that not only can we be triggered from them, but we can use other technology as part of the workflow underneath. A panic button being depressed may hit the paging system and tell people via a coded message to close their doors, stay in their offices, stay in their classrooms until they get the all clear, because something's going on in the building. We don't want people out in the general populace shelter in place until you get the all clear. A bomb threat might have a very different recording that hits the PA system and says, please exit the building. So workflows off of a single button or single activation can be, systemic to whatever makes sense for you, the organization. But you can drill on them to ensure that people do what you expect them to do, because that is the wild card. So with that in mind, I'm going to initiate a 911 call coming from, in this case, a classroom at a high school. This could just as easily be, an office building. So with that in mind, I have a 911 call coming from room 303. Who all gets this? Anybody that the customer designates that needs to get this can receive this information in these digitized floor plans. They get them via text, an email, or it can be a screen pop. In that text is an embedded link that they tap on, and they're pulled in, and they see this on their phone. So now they have this activated. Who else sees it? Public safety. This goes along with a phone call to 911. So now the call taker not only has the audio, but a visual of your environment, seeing exactly where the emergency call is coming from. Where's the nearest door to make entry to that? With that in mind, I mentioned these are interactive. What if this caller is saying there's a fight going on in the classroom next to me, room 304? Dispatch could engage and move the emergency event to where they want responders to go to, those that are on scene or coming to the scene, where the response needs to go, not where the call originated from. It could just as easily be somebody inside the building here calling because they see somebody out in the east parking lot getting guns out of their car, or, an accident in the parking lot. So with that in mind, dispatch could move the emergency event to where the threat is, not where the call originated from. What does this do for the security and safety personnel on scene? They're able to run down the hallway or look out the door and see that this happens to be a white male wearing a black hoodie. That shows up there. Who all sees it? Everybody in the application at the scene, anybody at a district level or a corporate level, and so does public safety. So what might a dispatcher do then? Get on the radio and announce to those that are driving to the scene that looks like somebody getting guns out of a car. It happens to be a white male wearing a black hoodie from a safety personnel that has updated us from the scene. So now, as a police officer, no longer is pulling over here to door 9 where the call originated from. They're pulling around the backside of the building. They see a white male with a black hoodie running across the parking lot. I may have the person I need to detain. So rather than looking like a student and ignoring it, maybe then I have more additional situational awareness, which is what you'll hear from public safety they love about this application. Is it helps to build more situational awareness for a faster, safer response. So with that in mind, I'm going to move this back inside and show you a couple other things that we can tie into, which is, in this case, I pulled over here, and dispatch can share this with first responders coming to the scene by simply copying this link into their CAD system, disseminating it out to those responding to the scene. So on the MDT in their car, the PC in their squad car, they pull over here at door 9 and now can tap on this door and unlock this door. During a demo, I can pass this to an individual within your environment. They can do the very same thing. So I can invite you into an emergency event and give you controls to open doors. And this can be restricted based on the individuals you have within your organization. So I have administrative rights of the application, super user rights, and then really kind of more my basic users that I may want them to have updates on what's going on, but I don't want them to be able to move rooms, update information, or you could. Really totally up to you. Everybody knows the story on Uvalde that hit the national news where a shooter was in the building. The SWAT team couldn't make entry because they didn't know where the shooter was in the building, didn't know where they could make safe entry. Well, here I can plot cameras on the maps. So anybody in incident command at that scene could grab all those camera feeds, identify where the shooter is or where they can make safe entry to eliminate that problem and get to helping folks inside the building that much faster. Again, building additional situational awareness. So with a 911 call from a cellular device, that might plot on these maps and look like this. So I have a 911 call in that hallway. I happen to be a school resource officer, a police officer designated to handle security in the building, or a security officer in a corporate offices, or a municipality, a courthouse where there are already policemen there, but they don't know if somebody goes into the bathroom on the second floor and dials 911, there's nobody in that building that's getting notified immediately. That all changes here. I now know that I have a 911 call in the building. I've been notified. I grab this print, and now I can grab a camera feed from the other side of the building to see what's going on. What am I walking into? Immediate situational awareness. On these digitized and interactive prints, as Rich was pointing out earlier, you can plot anything you want. Where is hazardous material? What is it? Where are the fire extinguishers? Oh, by the way, based on the emergency type, 90% of all 911 calls are medical in nature. Perhaps I might want to, activate, where are the AED devices, the first aid kits in the building? Because you can have staff walk by something 15 times a day and during a panic situation have no idea where they are. Make it easy for them. I can also, for public safety, toggle on here, where's the gas, the water, and the electric shutoff in the building? They like to know that. There is a capability to pass these prints, as I mentioned, over to public safety to where they can actually use these to now clear the building. So set these maps into a clear building mode so that I can come in and systematically open the door for the team going in the door. I'm an incident command out in the parking lot. Listen to them on the radio, calling out clearing building or clearing rooms systematically. So I can go through the building and clear them not once, but come back through a second time, a third time, and a fourth time, and shade it obviously differently. I can also grid this so I can note on here where are injured individuals within the facility. And in incident command, with this kind of topical knowledge, I now see maybe 2-3 people in my area that are injured, and I have a safe zone in the building. So potentially I could hold a team member here, bring EMS in and get these people out or get them the help they need. Because in many school shootings or mass shootings, these people pass not because they're critically wounded to begin with, but they bleed out because it takes so long to clear the building. Obviously, one of the other things that I can do in here is be able to note where are the safety areas potentially in a building? Where am I expecting people to be sheltered in place? And so if I breach a door in this room, I'm expecting to see this is a school, teachers and students in this area right here. Anybody else I deal with a little bit differently. And anything that a client wants to put on here, we can look at. So like we've had schools do 360 views of a room so that public safety knows before they breach a door exactly what that room looks like, so they know exactly what they're walking into. As Rich said in the call earlier, there is a lot of other things like for schools that we can do where we can actually send to a teacher, whether they're out in the parking lot with their students or sheltered in place in the classroom. Here are the students you should have in your classroom. I do not have these 2 students. I can then show on here that I have missing students from this classroom. From that missing student list, in chaos, people don't always go where they should. So especially children. So with that in mind, a teacher may have grabbed 2 of the students that looked like they were lost, pulled them into their protection for that moment in time. So truthfully, I do not have any students missing. So I'm in room 311 and I'm pulling these students back into my classroom. With that in mind, everything's going to go back to a green state and it's going to reallocate those students where they are, not where they're supposed to be. I truly don't have any students missing. With that in mind, I also, as Rich pointed out, can help the school with reunification. So there is a group that was formed out of a reunification that went horribly wrong. They committed to build a workflow that made sense. That's their name was I Love You Guys, is the independent group that did this. We worked with them to build that reunification workflow into our application. So with that in mind now, I can actually move the entire school or check off the first floor and move them to one location, second floor, move them to another location, or if I want to move everybody in this building to another area, maybe the regional hospital 2 or 3 doors down, and I'm going to store everybody in the cafeteria. And now I want to send out a notification to parents that says, your student, Lucy Ball, has been relocated to the Midwest Regional Hospital in the cafeteria. Please come up and pick up your student. You're going to need this PIN number to do so when you arrive. So when now mass notification goes out, and we can either tie into the Singlewire for mass notification to go out. We have some basic mass notification built into the platform that is built into the base of the platform, no extra charge. So with that in mind, it goes out to mass notification. Those people get the PIN number. We also can drop a PIN drop in there because during a mass event, the last thing you want is people calling back in using your phone lines going, can I get directions, please? There's a lot going on where those phone lines may be very, very valuable. So drop all the information you can into that notification so they know how to get where they need to go. They have the PIN number. We provide to the school a form to fill in that says this person picked up, time stamped at what time, validated PIN. So when all the students have been accounted for. So to Rich's comments earlier, really kind of filling out everything that was talked about in that checklist to make sure that we're accounting for that. Now, one of the other things that is built in for both schools, what about the teachers? So with that in mind, I can send a note to a safety check to teachers, to workers in a manufacturing facility, after a tragic event. With that in mind, I can pass this off to everybody. Looks like we're going to be moving back in about 10 seconds. So I want to thank you for the time. If you want a deeper dive, let us know.
Thanks for joining, guys. We appreciate you joining our breakout session. We've got a lot to unpack today, so I'm going to move pretty quickly here. But I'm Dave Nelson, and I'm the Midwest Territory Manager for Singlewire Software. I live right outside of Madison, and I've been here with Singlewire for about 6.5 years now. In my time here, I've worked with thousands of companies across not only just the US, but globally on a lot of different safety initiatives and how to improve communication across the organization. So in my previous life, I was in the Army, and then today I'm part of the IRT team here at Singlewire. So I'm really passionate about talking about life safety, and I'm looking forward to talking to all of you guys about how our solution can help your organization with that effort. So I'm joined by my colleague, Ken Roscoe, who manages our longstanding partnership with HBS. Ken, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit more about Singlewire.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Dave. So good morning, everyone. So I think we send a really good message up front here. Singlewire keeps people safe and informed everywhere, every time. And that's a really important focus that we have every day. Obviously, we're very key in the K-12 sector, but we affect anybody with a large square footage, healthcare facilities, higher education, state and local government, manufacturing facilities. We really are all over the board. So just a little bit about Singlewire, and then I'll let Dave get back to the really important stuff. But Singlewire is based here in Madison, Wisconsin. I've been here approaching 3 years now. Singlewire is Cisco's longest ecosystem partner, where we developed a paging application. That paging application obviously was responded to by a lot of customers, and customers were asking our solution to do more. And I think if you hear about Singlewire, that's the thing we're most proud of. We take a lot of feedback from our customer base. We take a lot of feedback from our partner community and enrich the product on a very ongoing basis. So paging turned into mass notification, which turned into critical event management. And these solutions are very key in protecting everything that Rich talked about. In addition, we added a new product recently within the last couple of years that really focuses on the safety of that front door in our visitor management solutions, and Dave is going to touch on that. I mentioned we've been in business 20 years, varying names throughout that. We were Burby. Burby turned into CDW, and now we are a Singlewire and have been for the last 15 years. 10,000 organizations worldwide use our solution, and everybody is based in Madison just about, except for me. They went slumming when they hired me, and they hired a Chicago guy to run the channel, which I'm really proud of, except during football season when all the Wisconsin guys pile on me. But other than that, that's really all I have to say. I'm going to turn this back over to Dave and let Dave do his thing, but we really appreciate any items. If you do have questions, I think the QA will work in this, and I'll be able to answer any other questions that you have in the chat log. So Dave, it's all yours, buddy.
Thanks, Ken. And before I move off this slide, one key statistics on here is that that 10,000 plus organization that use our solutions today. We have customers everywhere in every vertical. So if you guys ever want to talk to somebody like you, that's in your same space, same size, in your area, we have references just about everywhere. So we can always get you connected with somebody. So the theme of today's webinar, When Seconds Count, really fits perfectly with our mantra around critical event management, which we view as 3 different pillars here: detect, notify, and manage. So our solutions are really the glue that can tie all of these efforts together instead of siloing these across multiple disparate solutions. So we've all seen how quickly emergencies and especially threats of violence can play out. Usually it's a few minutes max. Sometimes these things are over in a matter of seconds. So if we can narrow the gap on these different components of an emergency event, we can alter the outcome of that event. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is how we can decrease the amount of time to detect an incident, notify everybody of what's happening and what action they should be taking, and then how we can streamline managing that event to resolution. So when we talk about detecting an incident, there's a couple ways we can do that. One of those is through manual means, which is the human element in all of this. So we have a person that has witnessed or identified that threat or that emergency. This could be a threat of violence or really any emergency for that matter. So this is where I see something happening and I need to be able to notify everyone in my organization. We provide an array of options really so that no matter where you're at in your facility, no matter what device you're near, you can quickly and easily get that notification out. So you see here, if I'm sat at my desk, I can leverage my IP phone to trigger that notification. Or if I'm maybe in a command center or SOC, I can leverage my computer desktop to get that out. Or if I'm about the facility somewhere, I can press a panic button during that duress event. Or maybe I'm not even at the facility. I can trigger that event from anywhere using my InformaCast mobile app. So what we can do in InformaCast is use what we call scenarios, which are where you can build out some really dynamic workflows for these different emergency events. So if we had, for example, an active shooter type of event, or even a fire in the building, things like that, we don't have time to think about what do I need to say to everybody right now, and where do I need this to go to? So what this allows you to do instead is we can predefine all the content for those types of messages and predefine the recipients and things ahead of time so that we strip it down to being as simple as all I have to do during this adrenaline charged situation is press one button. InformaCast is going to execute that workflow that we've built out. So one thing that we talk to a lot of customers today is around things like panic buttons, so which is one of those manual means of triggering these notifications. I'll say even 5 years ago, this wasn't nearly as prevalent, but just about every customer I talk to today has use cases for panic buttons. And these can come in a lot of different form factors today. The great thing with InformaCast is at the end of the day, we can give your organization choice in what these form factors are. You know, oftentimes in any facility, we've got an area where maybe a traditional physical panic button is best fit. Whereas, you know, in our office space, something like a virtual panic button on a computer desktop or on our mobile device or even on our IP phone is a better fit. So again, we can give you choice where you can mix and match all of these different panic button formats so that you have coverage everywhere. So getting into more automated ways of detecting incidents, this is another way of eliminating the time it takes to detect that threat. So camera system AI overlays like ZeroEyes and IntelliSee that we can integrate with can detect when somebody is carrying a weapon and then automatically trigger a notification through InformaCast to go out to all staff. While if we're also integrated with access control, we can be locking all of the doors so that that threat can't gain entry into our building. So I won't go through every single one of these individually, but just to give you an example of another use case that isn't a threat of violence, severe weather alerting, that's a huge use case for everyone, no matter what type of organization you are or where you're located. So this is something that we can automate through our integration with the National Weather Service. And this allows each customer to configure the types of weather events that they would want to be alerted of. And then it's all boundary based and you set what that boundary is. So I could have that be my zip code, or I could be county-wide. That way, if one of those weather events that I've identified is to occur within that area, InformaCast will automatically send an alert out to my predefined group of people. So Nobody then has to monitor for severe weather, so we can expedite the detection of that event. And then nobody has to manually send out that notification when something happens. We can automate that all end to end. So just a couple examples there. Getting back to more of the threat of violence use case, which is something we're all concerned about today. These things can happen no matter where you're at. It can be in a school, it can be in places of worship, in a grocery store, anywhere today we can find ourselves in a duress situation like that. So I'm going to show you guys a really quick video here. This is centered around our integration with IntelliSea, but this shows the weapon detection and then how that can trigger into InformaCast. So I'll go ahead and hit play here.
Threats can happen at any time, and while most organizations have surveillance cameras, few have the resources to constantly monitor them to intervene the moment an incident occurs. But imagine having tools that monitor cameras 24/7, 365, and deliver automatic, real-time alerts so your team can devote their efforts to responding to an incident before it gets out of hand. Whether it's identifying a gun in the parking lot before it gets to your doors, noticing a slipping hazard before it becomes a workers' comp claim, or pinpointing the location of a suspicious vehicle on the property or person in your building. Having real-time intel empowers your team to react quicker with better information so they can keep your people out of harm's way. That's why Singlewire Software has partnered with IntelliSea to integrate its AI risk mitigation solution with InformaCast, mass notification, and incident management software. When IntelliSea detects a threat, it initiates an InformaCast notification that includes the location of the camera that detected the threat, the type of threat it identified, and an image the camera captured of the threat. With InformaCast's critical incident mapping capabilities, response teams can see exactly where the incident took place. Stay ahead of potential threats with InformaCast and IntelliSea.
All right. Thanks for bearing with me through the video. But
threats can
a couple points made in that video as well. On top of just eliminating the time it takes to detect an event, a lot of organizations don't have dedicated resources to be monitoring these cameras 24/7, right? So how can we take that burden off of doing that? We can automate that and have AI do that instead. So a lot of resource and cost savings that go along with that. Getting into the next pillar here of notification, when it comes to mass notification, InformaCast gives you the ability to notify your people wherever they're at, whether they're on premise or off-site, so that we can keep everyone safe and informed. Big feather in our cap is that InformaCast is not a proprietary solution, so we can tie in with the existing systems and leverage those investments you've made in different technologies in your environment to save on cost. But if you look to modernize in areas like maybe we have an outdated PA system, for example, we have documented integrations with all of the major manufacturers out there in just about every space you can think of. So we can always make recommendations on, hey, here's what works really well with InformaCast. And ultimately, you have a lot of choice so that you can decide, hey, here's what's going to fit best for our use cases, and here's what's going to fit best in my budget as well. InformaCast has the ability to alert through a lot of different on-premise devices like IP phones, overhead paging as well, whether that's IP-based or analog, computer desktops, and then digital signage as well. So combining a lot of different audible notifications and then visual alerting as well. We can also reach people on their mobile devices in a number of different ways. So that could be through our InformaCast app, or understanding that sometimes for a lot of organizations, app adoption can be difficult. We can also reach people through SMS, or it could be a voice call with pre-recorded audio. And then we can also reach people through chat or collaboration spaces as well, whether you use Cisco WebEx Teams or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet. So a lot of our customers that we're talking about today are on Cisco, and a lot of those customers are migrating to their newer WebEx calling platform. So just wanted to call out that we do have a really robust integration with WebEx calling today. So we can leverage those phone handsets to both deliver broadcast audio to the phones, effectively turning every phone into a speaker, but we can also deliver text to the phone screen itself. So we can get both an audible and a visual notification to the phone, which the great thing about that is when we start to think about accessibility issues, what if we have somebody who's deaf or hard of hearing and they can't consume an audible message? They can consume that visual alert on the phone. Or vice versa, what if they're blind or visually impaired and they can't see a visual notification? They can hear that audio playing. So nobody's left out that way. And then their newest 9800 series phones, we built compatibility with these handsets as well. A lot of people are looking at these today because they can solve for a lot of different use cases. They put a dedicated action button here on the top of the phone, so it's red, really noticeable. But instead of having to configure or program one of these soft keys to act as a panic button or open a paging zone, we can have that be a dedicated, really recognizable button instead. Getting back to what I said before about being pretty vendor agnostic and an open source software platform, we work with a lot of different manufacturers out there in all of these different spaces. So today, every customer environment is so varied, right? We might have Verkada cameras and we've got something else for access control, or I've got this vendor for my IP speakers. How do I tie all of that together into one cohesive ecosystem so that I can push one button and send a notification across all these different devices and channels? So that's really, again, our value proposition being that open source software platform that can tie all this stuff together for you. Getting into that last aspect of it with incident management, this encompasses a lot of different features. So one component of this is how do we get all of our main stakeholders and admin folks into a space so that they can collaborate in real time on this emergency event and who should be doing what right now. We've seen it play out all too often in the news when things don't go well, when organizations aren't on the same page. So we have some ways to automate that process of getting people into that space. One of those is through virtual collaboration, so that when we have an emergency event, InformaCast can send out notifications that invite people to join a virtual collaboration space. So we integrate with all of the leading collaboration tools out there, the most prominent ones like WebEx and Zoom and Microsoft Teams, so that we can all gather there. Another way to do that is through this conference call capability. This is where, as part of that dynamic workflow that we build out, or what we call a scenario in InformaCast, we can have InformaCast dialing out to that group of stakeholders. This can be a group of up to 40 people, and all those people have to do is answer their phone to be joined. A lot of people I talk to will say, Dave, we all know when something happens, we're going to meet in this team space or this Zoom room, which great, nothing wrong with that. Having a plan is the most important thing, because I'll tell you guys, a lot of people don't have a plan. But this is a way, again, that we can better automate that so that if I'm one of those people on the IRT team, all I have to do is answer my phone to be joined. So maybe it calls me on my desk phone and I've had to evacuate the building along with everybody else. There's an escalation feature built in where it'll then call me on my mobile device and down the line until I'm joined into that call. So this can be a really powerful capability. We also have a roll call capability baked in. So for rostering and reunification efforts, typically, if there's an emergency event, we might have to evacuate the building and go to a muster point. So what next? We need to be able to account for everybody in the organization and mark their statuses so everybody has visibility into that. So what this allows you to do is, again, we'll send a link out to predefined staff. Sometimes these are managers or supervisors. And then they can start marking everybody's status. That could be accounted for, safe, injured, in LEO custody, being interviewed by police, whatever those different statuses are. We also have a really robust incident management capability baked in here. So, thinking about this through more of a real world lens, right? I'm likely not going to be sat at my desk and be able to manage the incident right from here and access different resources that I need. So this is a repository where we can preload different resources into Informacast, like floor plans to our building.
Welcome back. Hope everybody enjoyed both breakout sessions. Let's give a big shout out to our sponsors today. Thank you so much. I'm excited to share an opportunity for you. Everybody take out your phones. We're offering everyone on this call an opportunity for our experts to dig a little bit deeper into your environment, build some co-authored safety goals, and or help design any future state solutions for you. After filling out the form, you'll be contacted to set up a strategy review with your key safety team in the coming days. And if you guys have any questions, as you guys are looking at where you are in your strategy, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what we're here for. And I want to express my gratitude for everyone that joined their sessions today, partners, or maybe some folks that may be looking at partnering with Heartland Business Systems. I appreciate your time. And my final words I'm going to leave you with today: close the gap, empower your team to make that call, train at least biannually with your local police department, and invest into that ecosystem strategy that we talked about in that wheel. Start small, but start now. Thank you everybody for joining today's call, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.